Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to all of you joining us tonight for our event. While we wait for everyone to join us, I take a few minutes to formally introduce myself. So, my name is Neda Nakri. I am a founding council member of Wicci Luxembourg. For those of our audience members joining us for the first time, I'd like to acquaint you with Wicci. So Wicci stands for Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And here in Luxembourg, we are part of a global platform hosting 250,000 women across 120 countries, fostering strong business networks at a national and international level, boosting entrepreneurship, leadership, and women in business to lead and thrive together. We're hosting this event tonight for women, Indian women, for women who wish to freelance their skills and expertise, but require some guidance on establishing themselves professionally here in Luxembourg. We'd like to extend a warm welcome to our amazing panelists tonight. We have Reema, who currently works as an IT project manager in an EU institution and has previously worked as a freelancer for almost 6 years in Luxembourg's IT sector. Welcome. We have Sushma, who is an artist based in Luxembourg since 2 years. She formerly worked as an automotive engineer for close to a decade in Germany before embracing her artistic talents here in Luxembourg. Warm welcome to you too. And last but not least, to Vidya, who is an entrepreneur and an investor who began selling and marketing real estate with Remax back in 2020 as a part-time project and selling over 600 million worth of property and assisted over 50 families here in Luxembourg in finding their dream home. So thank you for joining us tonight, ladies. Before we begin, just a little acknowledgement to be extended to our viewers tonight. Gentle reminder to all our audience members that this event will be recorded, and we kindly request you to mute your microphones for the interests of good quality audio and to switch off your cameras if you wish to attend discreetly or anonymously. And without further ado, let's get this event started. I take great pleasure in passing the floor to my fellow Wicci Council member, Shweta, who will be moderating our event this evening. Thank you, Shweta. Enjoy.
So before we get into the detailed Q&A session, why don't we first open up the floor for our panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves. So we'll first start off with our very multifaceted, talented artist, Sushma. If you could please go ahead, introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Okay, yeah, I'm Sushma Hegde and I'm a full-time artist. So a little background about me. I'm originally from Bangalore and I moved out of India around 9 years ago. I lived in Germany for around 7 years and then moved to Luxembourg close to 2 years ago. And yeah, I worked as an automotive engineer for almost a decade in India and then in Germany. And painting was like a hobby for me, which I used to do after my full-time job. I would come home and just paint. I had no idea how to paint, and I started learning to paint like 5 years ago. And yeah, it was like a stress buster. And slowly I started gaining interest. And yeah, today I quit my job. I'm a full-time artist, and I teach more than 10,000, have more than 10,000 students whom I teach online. And I also sell my work, and I use different platforms to showcase my work and generate different streams of income. So yeah, I'll be sharing all of that today. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you very much, Sushma, and once again, welcome. We'll switch from art to information technology. Our next panelist, Reema. Reema, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Thank you, Shweta, and thank you, Vicky, for giving me an opportunity to be here. So about me, I came to Luxembourg in the year 2014. Prior to that, I was in India. I was working in an IT company there. Due to personal reasons, I had to quit my job and move to Luxembourg. I was specializing in ERP applications. So after moving to Luxembourg, I was searching for jobs here. I noticed that most of the jobs for my domain were mainly short-term contracts, 6-month contracts, 12-month contracts, etc. Mainly freelancing opportunities or mission, what they call it here. So permanent opportunities were quite rare at that point of time, especially in my domain. And the ones that were there required me to be an EU citizen or be authorized to work in Luxembourg, which was not the case. So I was in a bind. That's when a recruiter contacted me and she told me that if I have the freelancer permit, then I am a good fit for one of the profiles that they were looking for. So it was new to me. The idea was new to me because in India, we are not too used to freelancing, but it seems like quite a common thing here in Europe. So I checked. That's when the idea of freelancing came into my mind. So I checked and I checked the details that are required. And it did not seem too complicated for me. So that's why I decided to go for it. And fortunately, everything worked well. I was able to set up myself as an IT freelancer, and I was able to work for almost 6 years as a freelancer. So I did this until end of last year when I moved to salaried employment. Yes, so I thought I will share my journey here so that if it can help somebody who is in the same position as I was 5 years ago, and if it can help even in the tiniest bit, I think it would give me immense pleasure. That's why I thought I'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reema, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience would resonate with your story and are curious to know more about your journey. So we'll shortly get to that. And finally, we move on to our final panelist, Vidya, who's a real estate freelancer. Vidya, welcome, and could you please introduce yourself to the audience? And by the looks of it, you're
Yes.
also popular.
Thank you so much, Shweta. And again, thank you, Vicky, for giving me this opportunity, to be here today as a panelist and to share my journey with you guys. And hello, everyone. So my name is Vidya. If you are here in Luxembourg for quite some time, maybe in one or the other way, you know me, and I worked in different sectors. Like when I moved to Luxembourg, I worked for Vodafone, and then I moved to, there are different sectors that I worked in. So I'm pretty sure most of you know me. And Luxembourg is a great country to live and work, which is why I decided to call it home. And with roots in India, of course, I'm from Bangalore. And hi, Sushma again, I'm from Bangalore. So yeah, I moved to Luxembourg around, say, 6.5 to 7 years ago. And I moved as a spouse for a working husband. And I started with Vodafone as an intern. And then while I was working, that's when we decided, so maybe we should buy a house. This is our right time to buy a house. And after I getting into the market, after pretty much struggling for over 1.5 year finding a house, I realized that there is a serious need for an Indian real estate agent who I can relate to, who understands my needs better than local agents, and because of various cultural aspects. So that's when I decided maybe I'll take this up as a side hustle. And after being in it for almost, say, 1 year, I realized to take it full time. In fact, after seeing so many happy clients and after seeing happiness in a lot of clients who found their dream home, I decided to take it full time. And right now I work as an independent consultant with collaboration with Remax. Remax is the biggest agency in Luxembourg, so I work in collaboration with them. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Vidya, and welcome once again. So before we dive into the Q&A, just a quick call out for the audience. While you will get a wealth of information from this, but we also have a surprise gift hamper for one lucky participant. So it's a very simple ask. All you have to do is listen carefully to all the questions that we will discuss with our panelists, which I'm sure you anyway will do. And there will be one question that we will ask towards the end of the session. And all of you who get the answer right, we'll have a quick lucky draw and then you get the prize. So it's as simple as that. So yeah, so with this call out, let's just quickly jump into the Q&A. We'll start with you first, Reema. So as an IT freelancer, you spoke about how you approached a recruiter and then she advised you that the best possible way for you to step foot into the workforce at Luxembourg is to perhaps start getting to start with a freelancer license to begin with, right? So could you walk us through the process? What did you really have to do to go about this? What were some of the government processes that you had to go through to get this license?
Uh, Shweta, there are three steps really. First is applying for the business permit. So this will give you the necessary authorization to exercise your professional activity here. So for this, there is an application form that you need to fill in together with your criminal record for the past 10 years, whichever countries that where you have resided, and then your degree certificate recognized by the government here, and a non-bankruptcy declaration form saying that you have not been bankrupt for X number of years in the past, signed in front of the notary. So this will form your business permit application. And once you apply for this, you will get like a certificate in a paper form, which is essentially a business permit, and it usually takes 2 months. And then you need to go to the social security office. I went to the one in Hollerich. So there you need to change your status to self-employed. I'm assuming most of the audience here are probably in similar situations like me, who have accompanied their spouses and came to Luxembourg. So they currently have the family member status. So they need to switch to a self-employed status because then they are not co-insured anymore. They are self-insured. So they will become a CNS self-employed worker and they will start paying their social security contributions themselves. So this is the second step. And the last step is applying for a VAT number. This is quite important because this is what forms the crux of your business. You need to use this VAT number for all your correspondences, for all your invoices, etc. No company or no commercial establishment will deal with you unless you have a VAT number because that's the legal way. So fortunately, in my case, IT is not a restricted profession like medicine or construction sector. So I did not have to do any certification or any professional courses, etc., to access the sector. So that worked better for me. So, that's one step less for me in my case. So all in all, it took probably around 3 months in my case to fully establish myself and start exercising the activities.
That's great to know, Reema. I think this is super helpful, and I'm sure we're looking at the number of questions we're getting on the chat already. It seems like a lot of people in the audience here resonate with this kind of experience. So thank you so much for walking us through the steps. I had a quick follow-up question for you based on what you shared. So Luxembourg is a country that's multicultural, multilinguistic. Did you have a challenge in terms of language being a barrier, right, while you were going through this process? Because English is not the government official language. So especially for people coming in from India who perhaps are not very well acquainted with some of the other languages spoken here, did you ever run into any hurdles because of language being a barrier?
In my case, no. Not at all. Because most of the clients that I worked, they were fully English speaking, and French was not a criteria at all. It was always the permit which was the issue.
All right, but the permit was in French, right? So did you have to do anything unique to navigate
Yes,
through that?
initially I didn't know French at all, obviously, so it's all Google Translate. Yeah, it was always, but it's a lot better now than it was 5 years ago because nothing was online. So I had to visit all the ministries, go inquire. But the government here has been immensely helpful. The House of Entrepreneurship here, every time you go and ask questions, they are ready to help. They will give you a whole lot of information that you need. So they are really, really helpful.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Reema. We'll perhaps move to you, Vidya. So, from a real estate perspective, do you see any similarities in the process of registering yourself as a real estate license based on some of the information that Reema provided? Is the process entirely different in your case?
So there are two more steps that we will have to add in to whatever Rima said. Of course, the registration process as a freelancer and everything is pretty much same. But the other two steps that we would probably need to add, I would probably need to add is the first is learning language. French is the language. At least we need to know basics, because all the courses, exams, whatever we are doing will be in French. So the first step is to learn language, that is French. And the second step is to register for a course given by House of Trainings. So the course is called as Access to Real Estate Professions. Of course, it is in French and it is a 55 hours course, and the classes will be mostly in the evening after office hours. It's because most of the people who attend this course are full-time employees who are working. So just to provide them, some sort of to lead some help. So government of Luxembourg is offering this course in the evening, that is from 6:30 to 9:30. It again depends on what type of course you choose. So there are two types of course. One is 4 months and one is 6 months. So it's like, quickly, if we want to finish the course quickly, then we opt for 4 months, whereas we spend more hours in the classes, that is up to 4.5 hours. Whereas if we are like, it's okay, I do have some time, then I probably opt for the 6 months course, that where I will have to spend 3.5 hours every 2 days once. It really depends. So these are the two steps, and following which we will have to give exams, and again everything is in French. So the exam is one full day exam, so we will have various different kind of modules that we have to attend, and it's face to face. There will be a couple of face to face interviews and trainings, and after that, if we clear the exams, we will get this certificate by post to our home address. So, and then the registration is pretty much same, whatever Reema explained. So we have to go to Chamber of Commerce, and then they will help you with all the procedures, like what are the certificate, other documents that we need to submit, like the bankruptcy document that Reema was talking about. So everything is same along with the VAT registration, and we just have to take insurance also, because we are in this real estate profession. So we have to make sure that everything is protected by law. So if something happens, so that is the reason we always need to have insurance with that. So yeah, the whatever the Rima mentioned, 5 steps, I would add 2 more steps for that one. That would become 7 steps. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vidya. So, I think a key takeaway from your experience, or rather for somebody aspiring to get a real estate license, is that language is super important, right? So, would you advise that somebody takes French language courses first to get
Yes.
themselves familiarized with the language before they even step into going through the assessment for real estate?
Exactly. So we need at least basic French, at least to understand the course, and at least to do all the whatever the trainings that they give. Since everything is in French, we need to probably learn, French, at least basics, like I said. But of course, learning other languages also helps us because we are in market and we are networking. And Luxembourg is a country where we have 80% of the population who are expats, and they speak all different languages. So if you ask me which are the important languages to learn in Luxembourg, that would be French, German, maybe if you want Luxembourgish, English is must. But there is also a way of doing it. So if you don't want to learn all this language, then there is a possibility that we can hire someone like a translator or someone who can help us to translate all the contracts, legal contracts, because in this whole market real estate business, whatever contracts happen, they are in French, because of course the Luxembourg, the language that we have to, legal language is French. So whatever the documents we do, it has to be in French. So yeah, we can either have a translator or a subordinate who can take care of contracts, but French basic is a must.
That's very helpful to know. Thank you so much, Vidya. I have a very interesting follow-up question for you. Would you advise somebody, right, especially for a lot of expats coming in from different countries who are not aware of the process really, would you advise somebody to get into some kind of a real estate consultancy without going through this formal process of getting a license?
No, I mean, it's a big no-no. To be honest, in fact, I receive a lot of calls from women, calling me saying that, hey, Vidya, I received this job offer from some local agency who is offering me a job without a contract or salary. So that's a big no-no for me. To be honest, these real estate agencies, they don't even provide contracts, and they don't give salary. It is basically commission-based business in most of the agencies. So what happens is that, okay, you bring in money, then I give you some share out of it. So it's always like that. And then what we have to be careful is that since this is not legal way of doing, we are not covered under any sort of labor law or insurance or any sort of government protection. I would call it as protection. We are not covered under one. I mean, if at all, if we go in this way of doing it, and also if we don't have VAT number, and if we don't have insurance, it becomes a problem when we take money from this kind of deal. So the government of Luxembourg, also the banks, like big banks, because since the transaction that happens are not teeny tiny transactions, they're always in like thousands, minimum of 10,000 or 15,000, something like that. So this kind of transaction are always monitored. So if at all, if we get caught, or by the bank will directly send such transactions to government. The government will directly redirect it to the criminal sanction department. So which could lead this kind of cases to criminal sanctions, and results in deportation in some cases, which I have seen in my own eyes. So it's a big no-no. It's a big risk to take this job offers, illegal job offers, I would call it as. Yeah. And if someone needs more information, please feel free to call me anytime.
Thank you very much, Vidya. I think this was super insightful and eye-opening, right? Especially for so many expats who come into the country not fully aware of the processes. And going by some of the anecdotes you shared, it's not very uncommon for people to get these kind of lucrative offers. So it's always advisable to do due diligence before getting into these kind of assignments. Thank you very much, Vidya. And finally, we will move on to you, Sushma. So I know you did tell us that the process for registering your business was perhaps not very different than what Reema
Exactly.
shared. Would you like to just talk about the registration? Because when we were chatting earlier, you did mention that when you register yourself as a freelance artist, there are a lot of options that you get in the website, right? So, and
So
for
the process, sorry, yeah, you continue.
Go ahead, please go ahead.
Yeah, as Reema and Vidya said, the process is almost similar. Based on House of Entrepreneurship has like lots of options. So in that you filter out exactly what you're doing, and there are multiple options in that, and then you can choose that. For example, for me it was art, but I don't have an art degree, or I haven't done any studies based on art. I've learned it on my own. So then I chose something related to art and content creation and social media. And I also wrote, like in my application form, I also mentioned exactly what I do and in what ways I'll be getting an income. So I explained all of that. And yeah, based on that, I could register. So that other than that, everything else was the same, all the paperwork and everything else.
Thank you, Sushma. So I think the key takeaway here is there is an option for everyone, right? Irrespective of whether you have a formal education in that stream of freelancing, and specifically for your stream in art, it's just about the know-how of which right option to pick so that the process is more seamless for registration.
Yeah, exactly. And they are also very helpful in the House of Entrepreneurship. They have these weekly courses where you can watch it online and get to know the whole process. And also, you can call them anytime, email them, and they reply immediately. So they're very helpful in that, especially if your case is something very different from what the options that are there. It's always better to just call them and ask them, and they support you.
That's helpful. Thank you. So while we are with you, I think let's move on to our next segment, right? So I think by now we have pretty detailed know-how of the whole registration process across different streams, as we spoke to all three of you. So Sushma, moving on to you in terms of now that you have a license, you've registered yourself as an artist in Luxembourg, comes the most important and perhaps the most tricky part, right? How do you go about building that reach or that network? How do you build your clientele? So would you like to walk us through your story of how you went about meeting all these people, getting commissions, and you spoke about conducting online classes as well, right? So how did you build that name or that footprint for yourself in Luxembourg?
First of all, it took time. It's all baby steps. And one thing that I did was, for me, I built my business based on social media. So I have a quite a big following on Instagram, and all my collectors, buyers of all my courses or my paintings come through Instagram. So I have built that social media over the years, where I've put across my work and interacted with other artists and built a community there. So that is one thing. And then after moving to Luxembourg, I have actively approached other artists or other creators around. Like I have found them on Instagram, or looked for specific hashtags to find Luxembourg people in Luxembourg who do similar things, may not be painting but something creative. So that I get to know the whole process of how it's done in Luxembourg, or how you ship something when somebody buys something. What is the postage process and everything. So I've approached them and like emailed them and asked them to meet up, and people have been very friendly like that. Generally, it's just you take the initiative and just come out of that shyness and talk to people. And another thing is I've also participated in pop-ups so far, where people showcase their works. You keep stalls in certain events and show what work you do, and sell products, and that way you get to know a lot of people. And that too, some of these pop-ups are multiple day events, so that way you connect with the people who other people who have stalls there. So even if you don't connect with the people who buy, you will connect with people around you, and talk to them and get to know about their struggles and your struggles and all of that. And yeah, and that is one of the main things. And also, like, I actively approach people, even if I want, if for example, I have last year I wrote a book and it got published. The book is in German, and next year in March I'm publishing another book, which is all about watercolor painting, and all about learning through a book. So I approach those people and bring out my ideas and tell them, I have this idea, can we collaborate, can we do this? And I've also approached people within Luxembourg itself and told them, see, you do this, I do this, maybe both of us together can do something. So recently for the holiday, Christmas holiday, I collaborated with a candle maker here in Luxembourg. So she makes the candles and I paint on them. And we sold those candles and they were a big hit. So yeah, things like this also, brings, with these collaborations, you get audience from that person's side as well as your audience. And you also get to know other people this way. So that's a great way to start, I think.
That's really interesting, Sushma. I think based on your experience, seems like social media is so powerful, right? How you've leveraged Instagram to build that reach, and the pop-ups is a great idea, and so is collaborations. And having personally seen your collection, I do agree. I mean, the collaboration with the candles was an amazing idea. So thank you for sharing that with us. We'll move on to you, Reema. So from an IT freelancing standpoint, I think in your situation, you were already in touch with a recruiter, right? So it was more of a process of getting the license for you to be able to start working as an IT freelancer. But that said, how important is it for IT freelancers to continue to build that reach for themselves?
It's important that you build a network of people who have the same skill sets as you. So then you become aware of what are the job opportunities that are coming into the market. So I have had cases where I have friends in the same field, and when they are in a job with a client and there are openings in their team, they refer the recruiters to me. So that way I get into the loop of those job contracts as well. So in that way, it's good that you have a network so that you can get more offers and you can so that work keeps coming your way. So it's good. Yes, it's good to keep getting networked.
That's great. And based on your experience, Rima, do all these different agents keep in touch with you, right? So I also remember you had mentioned that for freelancers like LinkedIn, there is another option wherein you can keep looking for freelancing opportunities. Would you like to talk about that a little more?
uh, it's mainly LinkedIn really, but actually when I was searching like 4 or 5 years back, LinkedIn, there were not many uh, part-time positions like freelancing, but now I see a lot coming up in LinkedIn as well, where you see like short-term contracts coming up in LinkedIn. But at that point of time I was looking mainly ictjobs.lu, which was the main website for the vacancies for the IT sector. So that was one site, and then another was freelanceinfo.fr, but that was like a mix of positions both in France and Luxembourg. So you really have to filter and drill down to find something which matches, the location that you prefer.
Got it. So are these websites still live, Rima? The ones that you mentioned?
Yes, I actually checked yesterday. Just I was just
Okay.
curious, and it's still live. But like I said, freelance was a bit too much. There were multiple locations, and most of the locations were not up for me and not really for Luxembourg. But today, if I'm looking for freelancing, then LinkedIn would still be my first choice.
Okay, so that's good to know. So LinkedIn is still the number one go-to channel to look for profiles, and then the other two websites you mentioned are perhaps good alternatives.
Yes.
Thank you, Rima. And then finally, we move on to you, Vidya. So I think it's a no-brainer, right? In the world of real estate, networking is key. So would you like to talk about your experience?
Yes, like you said, networking is a key. Network. As much as possible, we always say in our real estate offices that if you come to office, that means that you don't have any job. You better be outside in a cafe or somewhere in a networking event, networking with other real estate people like agents or real estate owners and clients, mostly clients. Yeah, so it is very important in my the area of business. It is very important to network. So for networking, maybe I would say I would really say that there are few events that takes place in Luxembourg. Like I don't know, some of you know Founders Institute or not. So there is something called as Founders Institute. So wherein they organize free networking events in the evening after work hours. You just have to drop in, stay some time with like-minded people. Maybe you will meet a investor or the one who is looking for a property in Luxembourg, or one more real estate other agent or someone in real estate owners, for example. So this this attend. It's just not Founders Institute. There's something called as Paper Jam. I think you know it. It's a very famous event organizer in Luxembourg. And also there is Eventbrite. So these are the ticketing company. If you go to Eventbrite, you will see a lot of free events which are into networking. So I would really say that this is really a key in my area of business. Networking is the key. So we try to spend as much as time possible outside of officers. I mean, if we are free, we are always in cafe or some networking event. So yeah, it's very important, I would say.
That's awesome. So, go-to advice would be look for free events that are being
Yes,
published.
exactly.
That,
Exactly. I
then,
mean, if we cannot pay for an event, then why not just go for a free event and spend some time, get some contacts, get some cards, and then you just leave. So that's what I did basically in the beginning when I didn't know what to do. I started attending these events from Eventbrite. Maybe they are not related to what you are looking for. They are not related to real estate, but it is still good to meet like-minded people, and out of 10 you will find someone, at least one, who is interested in real estate of Luxembourg. So it's a win-win situation, and you don't lose anything because you're not paying for that event basically. So I used to do this before, but later, after getting into this business, I started doing, paying for the cocktail events, networking events, and I started attending them. But it is very helpful in my business.
that's good to know. Thank you, Vidya. I think a lot of great information there. So I think we got some great insights about building your reach, building your network, right? And it is a very relevant or an important step to take after you've registered yourself, after you've gone through the whole legal process. And I think we heard from all three of you different perspectives, different channels on how one can go about doing that. Now let's talk about sustaining and scaling, right? This is a marathon. So you perhaps have to do this job year over year. You have to survive in the country for multiple years. It doesn't just end with something that you do in a year and forget about it. So, Reema, why don't we start with you? In terms of sustaining what you're doing year over year and perhaps scaling to do bigger things, do you have any special anecdotes or experiences to share in terms of your profile?
Best thing is to enhance your skills. The technology keeps improving, changing. So one advice I would give you is every change or every new technology that comes in, especially related to your domain, try to learn it, master it, so that the next opportunity which comes in your way related to that skill, you can take it up. Okay, because especially in IT, things keep changing. So you have to change, to be in the picture always. So that's one advice I can give you related to ITS.
That's good to know, Reema. Is there any special or most sought after skill set, even within IT, that you see a lot of freelancing jobs that get listed? Is there a few specific ones that stand out to you based on your experience?
Honestly, in Luxembourg, we generally have a shortage of, ICT workforce. Employers are not getting enough people to work in the industry. And the most common openings that I have seen are for business analysts and testers of applications. And that is not really a challenging area for somebody to work on, because when you are a business analyst or when you're a tester, you don't really need to have prior experience for testing some application. So if you have worked as a tester for any other application, probably you can still apply for the job. So I feel there is a lot of scope and potential for these roles in Luxembourg.
I think that's very insightful. So, business analysts and testing jobs are perhaps what you see that stand out in the job market here. And I think this will benefit our audience here in terms of anybody aspiring to get into those kind of roles. Thank you so much, Reema. And another follow-up question that I have for you is based on your experience, right? Do you see freelancing as a segue or a gateway to convert into full-time employment? Have you seen that happen often, or do you, and just your advice or your personal input on would should somebody start off as a freelancer first because that's the best way for you to enter the workforce and then eventually transform into a full-time job
Yes,
opportunity.
definitely. I've seen it happen as well. When you are in the job market, you're applying for jobs, recruiters are contacting you, everything is fine. And then it gets stuck when they hear that you don't have a permit. So in that case, so you know that it is your permit that's causing the problem. So if you know your skills, you're aware of your skills and you're confident of your skills, then go for it, apply for a freelancer permit, and then give them the opportunity or give them the option that you will work as a freelancer for a certain period of time, prove your potential, and then probably they will be keen to take you in as a permanent employee. Because most of the companies here are small and medium sized enterprises, and they don't really want to spend their effort on something that they're not sure of. So then when they see your CV, they are not convinced yet whether you're a good fit for that profile. But when you're on the job as a freelancer, they see your work, you're in a way proving your potential. So in that way, they might be convinced that you're good fit, and then probably they might sponsor your permit. And I have seen it happening in my circle.
That's actually very insightful, Reema. I'm sure a lot of us didn't know that getting into freelancing is a great avenue to explore full-time job opportunities. So thank you so much for sharing that.
I would like to clarify something there, Shweta,
Uh,
just to clear
yes,
the
yes.
air. If you have a freelancer permit, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can take up a salaried job with the same permit.
Mm.
These are two entirely different things. Okay, so even if you have been a freelancer for 12 months, when you apply for a salaried job, if somebody takes you in as a permanent employee, the procedure is as same as a newbie who's coming to Luxembourg. You have to go through changing your residence permit, applying, because the permits are different, entirely different. So it just makes you a better candidate, that's all. It doesn't make the administrative procedures easier. Okay, I just want to clear that.
That's very important. Thank you for calling that out, Reema. I think the objective or the experience that you shared is perhaps to establish that trust with your potential employer, right? Wherein
Exactly.
showcase your skills, your technical talent, and if everything works well, you get a full-time contract. But then you still go through the same process of getting a full-time work permit. That doesn't change, but it's more from just getting into building that trust with a potential future employer.
Yes.
Thank you, Rima. So we'll move on to you, Sushma. So in terms of sustaining and scaling your art business, what have been some of your avenues that you've explored? Anything special that you'd like to share with us?
So I'll start by talking about scaling. So when somebody asks me, "What do you do?" when I tell them I'm an artist, a full-time artist, the first thing they think is that I just paint and sell my paintings or do commission paintings, and that's how I get my income. And that's what even I thought actually before, when I thought, okay, that's an artist and that's what they do. But that's not the case. There are like multiple revenue streams for an artist. For example, you could, whatever you paint, you could, or whatever you create, you can make it into prints where you sell the same thing multiple number of times. So I have a high quality scanner at home, so I scan whatever I paint and then get it printed professionally in like good quality paper, and then I sell those. So and I also license my work. So that means like basically big brands, like for example, you see designs on bed sheets, on curtains, and all of that. And those designs are coming from some artists, and big brands actually rent these from you. So basically, I rent my designs to them. That this is called licensing, where they, whenever they sell that product, they pay you a certain royalty fees. So that way, there's like a long-term benefit of like just one painting that you did lives on for so many years. And another way to scale your business is also to teach online. So it's not just like one-on-one teaching where you do like a Zoom workshop or anything. There are many platforms where you can like put up your online classes, and it's a one-time thing. So the one time you're making the class and you're putting it up, that's the only time when you have to put in so much work. But people watch it for years and years, and you keep getting money based on the number of minutes they watch and the number of students there are. So all these are different ways to scale your business. Yeah, there are many other ways. Like right now I'm writing a book, and a book is like, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of work only at that time. After that, you don't have to do anything much for that. You can continue painting, you can continue doing whatever creative passions you have. And that way it also helps you not to burn out and continuously keep creating, because what I do is it comes out of passion. So any kind of creative business is something like very close to your heart, and it's comes from that inspiration. And you can't just every time just think, okay, I have to create something to make money this month, so I have to paint something. So it's not like that. So establish it in such a way that you keep getting income and you're not always frustrated, and you don't start hating what you do, because in the end you're doing this because you love doing it. So yeah, these are different ways to scale a business, an art or a creative business. So,
Thank
yeah.
you, Sushma. I think that's very insightful and you put it very well, right? Following your passion comes with a price. So you have to at some point keep getting monetized. And I think you've shared some great avenues through which one can explore monetizing the work they do and not just be confined within the boundaries of an artist per se. I have another follow-up question for you. Did you have any constraints in selling your work outside of Luxembourg? So any challenges that you did run into?
No, not exactly. So, yeah, that's one more thing when you talk about scaling businesses. Also, you don't have to be restricted to one region. You can move on to other, like I sell my work to other countries. Like there are people buying from all over the world, and even people who take classes are all over the world. So it's not like a region specific. So I can live anywhere and I can still get the same amount of income. I mean, other than the whole business registration part and all of that. But yeah, so there is I've not faced any very negative issues. It's only the shipping charges are a little expensive from Luxembourg to send everywhere else. But yeah, other than that, it's very reliable. And yeah, even the postal company is like very helpful. And even in Luxembourg, they support local businesses a lot and they encourage it a lot. And so in that way, I've not faced any problem as such.
That's good to know. So basically, there are not a lot of geographical boundaries once you figure out the whole logistic part of how you ship your work. That's good to know. Thank you, Sushma. And then we move on to you, Vidya. So, how did you really sustain and scale over the years?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, this business is like really competitive. So if you are living in Luxembourg, you might have already seen like for every street you come across at least two agencies. And imagine number of agents working there and number of people like me who are independent consultants working there. So this market is very competitive, and the only way to sustain that is by building trust and relationship with your clients. So all my clients, like majority of them, at least 80 to 90% of them are repetitive clients. You know, if the client is happy with me, so they will always come back to me either like after 1 or 2 years, or they refer me, he or she will refer me to someone else, friend or a family member, for a business proposal. Yeah, basically this is how we get the business, and this is how the industry works. So it is always important for me to keep my client happy. And also, we always say that, okay, don't aim for the short gains. Always try to focus on the long-term relationship with our clients. So basically, this is how we sustain in market for a longer time. And also, we have to offer something that other agents or other real estate owners who are not, giving. So basically, when it comes to that, me personally, I'm very flexible when it comes to time. Typical real estate agents, real estate owners, they work on time, 9 to 5. After 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, they don't even pick the calls. And weekends are like big no for them. But in my case, at least for Indian clients, I always say it's okay to work on weekends. I'm always available on weekends and also in late hours after work hours, of course, in the late evening. So this is something important that you offer something which is not your competitor is offering. And the next thing is communication. So always communicate well. Make sure you know what your client exactly needs. So this is a very small country and very small market. Even though the demand is more, the market is still small. So if a person is working with you is not happy, he will go and he will talk to another 10 friends of him who are also potential clients, and then maybe they'll never come back to me, or they never come back to our company, or it never works that way. So it is always important to communicate with your client well and to understand what they need, what exactly they are looking for, and always to keep them happy. Even they say, okay, Vidya, I want you to be here at 9 p.m. in the evening. Sometimes it happens. And then I have to say, okay. And that too on weekends, they say that I want you to be here on 9 a.m., visiting a client's house. It's not what typical agent or a consultant would do. But I do sometimes accept this kind of special request from my clients. So that is one thing, that you communicate well and you understand your client situation, understand your client very well. And the next one is dedication, of course. You have to be dedicated to the work. And then, of course, there are a lot of ups and downs because so much of competition in the market. For example, now recession is on the way, and then you might have already seen the market. It has gone down, like how it was compared to how it was last year. But then we have to keep ourselves dedicated to this work. We know that, out of 10 clients, only one will make the offer, or out of 10 clients, we will sign contract with only one. But still, we have to treat all those 10 clients equally, and we have to dedicate ourselves to them. So yeah, and the last but not least, never stop learning. So if at all there is an opportunity to learn about sales, marketing, negotiation, yes, we have to keep up to date about the current market, what's happening in market, what are the new things that's going to come in the market. For example, there are a lot of aspects that work well for us. For example, there is some school or some new project, some shopping mall coming in certain area, maybe 5 years down the lane. We know that this market is going to pick up in such area. So we have to be up to date about current affairs, what's going on, what's going to come. And then, yeah, so learn, always learn. And yeah, so that's how I sustain so far. And I think that's very important for everyone.
Wow, that's a lot of good things that you shared, Vidya, right? So build trust, be flexible, communicate well, and
Mhm.
stay up to date. Did I miss anything?
No.
Alright. That's good to know. Thank you so much. And I'm sure a lot of the members in the audience would really resonate with what you said. So
Mhm.
yes, with this we come to the end of the question answer or the moderated Q&A session. So we will shortly start with the Q&A. So thank you, audience, for the flurry of questions that you've posted. So great engagement, and I'm sure you've learned a lot from these sessions, and hearing from each of our panelists. So before we move on to our Q&A, a quick reminder on the lucky audience prize. So I'm sure all of you have been listening very intently. So the question for all of you, and before I put the question forward, all you have to do is just type the number. So I've already given a hint. The answer is a number. So you just have to type the number on the chat window. All the lucky few intent listeners, we will run a quick lucky draw and one of you will get the prize. So are you ready for the question? Okay. So Vidya spoke about certain number of steps to register yourself as a real estate agent. So there was a number of steps that she mentioned. Probably there was a little bit of addition because she said add what Reema said plus plus plus. So again, I'm giving another hint. So go ahead and type the answer, the total number of steps that are required to register yourself as a real estate license holder. All right, so keep the answers coming in. And while you type the answers, I will now pass the ball on to Rashmi Vittal, who is the president of Wicci Luxembourg, who will walk us through the process of how to become a volunteer, how to become a member at Wicci, if you're interested. Rashmi, over to you.
Thank you very much, Shweta. This was so interesting. And thank you very much, panelists. I mean, I'm sure everybody tuned in hasn't missed a heartbeat. I can say that for a fact because I can see the number of answers rolling in and everybody's been really listening. Yeah, before I make the announcement of the open positions, I just wanted to set a bit of context for that. This morning, when we were trying to prepare for the event, and one of the Harvard Business Review articles came into my inbox, and usually it's like mundane, they give you 5 steps on how to succeed and stuff like that. But today was exceptionally special and it was beautiful because it said, how do you measure your life? And I was like, probably they're going to tell you 5 ways how to measure your life. But it was very beautiful because it said the way you measure your life is not to worry about the level of individual prominence you've achieved, but worry about the individuals you've helped become better. And that's exactly what we do at Wicci. We try to provide a platform to help others do better. So, sorry, that's my child who just walked in. Sorry about that. And what we have is 2 openings. One of them is a Wicci membership opening. A Wicci membership opening is an annual membership. We have 2 positions there. And if you're interested, you can write into us. The email ID is wickilux@gmail.com. And we have one more opening that is slightly different, that is not a year-round engagement. It is if you have some time on your hand and if you're like you want to get involved in the the workings of the Wicci, you can come in and say, I'm looking for a job, but I have probably 2 months on my hand. I would like to be involved. I would like to network with people and I have short time, but I would, I have something to give. Then even then, we call that a Wicci volunteer position. You won't be on the council, but you will have an in and out and you'll work with the council members and you'll have the same access to things as everybody else. So even then you can just write into us. It's called wickilux@gmail.com. The email ID is wickilux@gmail.com. The spelling is Wicci, WICCILUX@gmail.com. Somebody asked me, is there membership applicable only for females in the chat? Yes, it's a women's platform. The membership is only for women, but the programs we have is for everybody, of course. So as a member, yeah, that's one of the criteria. So the next, I will announce the winner, not now, but after we moderate the questions. So all the questions that you have sent in through the chat, and some of you sent in when you registered. So we've tried to combine the similar questions together. So most of them get answered. We have our eyes on the watch as well. So we'll probably be able to answer 5 or 6 questions, but if they don't get answered, please log into the socials on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. Do we have anything else? I think, yeah, these 3 mainly. Please log in there. Please initiate chats if you have questions, because the more you start asking these questions, more people will answer them for you. And like Vidya said, unless you put yourself out there and ask those questions, there's not enough opportunity to share and help each other. So please do that on our socials. And I pass it on to Neda now. She will take your audience questions and pose it to the panelists, and whoever it's relevant for will answer your questions now. On to you, Neda.
Neda, I think you're speaking on mute.
Sorry. Thanks, Rashmi. Thank you, Shraddha, for wonderful moderation. Thank you to our panelists. We do have several questions that our audience has posted. Some have already been answered.
Neda, sorry.
Well.
Sorry, we are not able to get your audio through clearly.
For all of you. Sorry. Hello, can you hear me? We are not able to get your audio through clearly. It's like that for all of us, actually. For me, at least, I can't hear everyone very clearly. Can you hear me? Hello, hello.
It's better now.
It's better now. It's better now. Okay. Well, I have lessons for all the panelists.
Sorry, Neda, I'm going to swap, if you don't mind, Neda. I'm going to swap. Sorry about that. Yeah, like Shweta said, what's a good online event without some technical issues? All right. So I'm going to go ahead with the questions, Neda, if you don't mind. One of the questions that came in is, let me just pick a question here. I'm not that prepared as Neda is. Can we apply for a freelance permit along with a full-time job contract in IT? This is for you, Reema. What do you have to say to this?
Honestly, I would check the current contract with you have for the full-time contract, I mean, because most employers don't allow you to moonlight. So check your contracts in clearly whether it forbids you from attaining or acquiring any other activity outside your current profession, and make sure that you inform your current employer, because I don't think it's allowed here. I might be wrong, but I don't think it's a good idea.
Great. Thank you. We have another question. It says, what kind of part-time or full-time jobs are available for artists which they can join to gain experience and build network before starting their freelance journey? Any advice here, Sushma?
Part-time or full-time jobs? I don't know actually, because as I said, I'm not exactly from an art background. Like I don't have a degree. And I think people who have a degree would go for like galleries and, be as assistants for such people or do graphic designing work. But generally, I think a lot of artists also hire like virtual assistants. So you can support them in all the process work, like setting up a website or doing these online courses and, how to do the video taking and editing and all of that. So maybe you could support somebody like that. People are always looking for assistants like that, or interns. Even I'm looking for interns actually. So that is a way to, get into the field and like understand all the process that goes behind, because it's generally not just painting and there's so much other work that goes into it. So yeah, that's a good way to start.
That's fantastic. So I hope people in that space have noted that, Sushma is looking for an intern if you're, looking to break in that sector. This is also for you, Sushma. They're asking, I have a question. So I'm making some art and I would like to make a small scale side hustle, but should I register? What is the threshold before I should think of registering?
I'm not sure about this because as soon as I moved to Luxembourg, I registered as a freelancer and for art, and I didn't look for my automotive industry jobs here at all. But yeah, I think as Reema said, you have to contact your company and you have to tell them that this is, I want to do this. And if it is like a totally different field, generally they are okay. And if you tell them, they give you in the contract, they make you, they mention the amount that you can earn from a side hustle like this. At least this is what it was in Germany. I'm not sure how it is in Luxembourg, but generally it's like that. Because if it's totally different from what you do and they are sure that you don't take any intellectual property from your main job and use it into your side hustle, then generally they are okay with it. But you have to be very clear and you have to tell them that you're doing this so that you don't get into any trouble later.
Okay, I think that's the theme that's coming up again and again is that of being transparent. In Vidya's case and honesty, you know, and in Vidya's case and what Reema mentioned and what you're mentioning is that people want to make sure that they check with their current employer, make sure that they have transparency there, and yeah, so that tomorrow nobody is in trouble because of, yeah, that's great. And another question, this is how long is the permit valid for? This probably goes to all three of you. It could be different, I suppose. I don't know the answer. So the question is, how long is a freelance permit valid for? Anybody wants?
It's normally 2, but if your residence permit expires before that, then it's until that date. At least this was how it was in my case.
Okay. How about art or real estate? Any different?
Yeah, it's the same thing for me as well. It's as long as your visa is valid till then it is, and then you have to renew it again.
Okay.
So for me, so the license itself is valid for like whatever she said, like 2 years. But then the certificate that I have acquired from House of Training, there is no expiry date for that one. So I can have this certificate and keep on applying for the license every now and then, you know, once it expires. But there is no so-called expiry date for the certificate. And also, we should be very careful that with this permit, I cannot work outside Luxembourg as a real estate consultant or agent. But this one is applicable only.
Are you there, Vidya? We'll probably ask her when she gets back.
Luxembourg. Even though France.
Hey, Vidya, can you hear us? We've lost you for a couple of seconds.
Germany is close by. I may not be able to work there. I will have to check them there, and I have to convert. If at all, I have to move to. Yeah. So sorry.
You might have to repeat that a bit. We lost you in between. Can you just repeat the halfway somewhere we lost you? Sorry.
So yeah, like I said, the certificate doesn't have any expiry date, so-called expiry date. But yes, I have to go and renew my license every 2 years once. And also, I'm not allowed to work anywhere outside Luxembourg with this certificate, with this license. So if at all I have to work in France or Germany, then I will have to go and convert my license to French license or German license before working as a real estate consultant or an agent over there.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. We have another question. I think this is probably the last but one question. Somebody asked, like, does Wicci have, this is probably for me to answer, does Wicci have networking events that one can attend in person and connect with members? That's a very, very good question. Thank you, Rohit. At present, no. We started in 2020 when the pandemic was full swing, and we have stuck to online model, and it's really worked for us. But we're itching to have in-person events. We as Wiki Council members, we meet in person, but we've not had where we've hosted because we need a place and all of that. So we're hoping that in the coming months, probably towards the end of 2023, we might have that format as well. But that shouldn't stop you from, getting in touch with us. If we can put you in touch with somebody who you can have a coffee with, for example, if you need a specific skill that you're looking for, please write to either our Gmail account or on our socials and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Does anybody have the knowledge on this? And then we, in our network, we can reach out and say, so we're always very happy to help. And our purpose, the whole purpose of this platform is to make it easy for people so that people can help each other. So please don't hesitate to do that even before we get to, having in-person events. So I'll take one last question, I think. This is a very interesting question. They've asked, have you struggled with imposter syndrome? How did you discover your target audience? And did you take extra qualifications? I think the extra qualifications part has been spoken about. So I think this question is more like you were in a certain field and you've moved to a different field, and how do you, this like more on a personal level, how do you build your confidence and how do you not have imposter syndrome? Any one of you can please go ahead with that.
Okay, I can take this. I struggle with imposter syndrome every now and then. And I think it's always a battle to, not fall into that trap. I think it also comes from the perfectionist mentality that, you want everything to be perfect and only then you put yourself out and you feel like you're not good enough, which is not the case because, for example, today, even though I have so much that I still need to learn and acquire, I'm here sharing what I know, because I know there are people who are just starting, who are just beginning, and who will be struggling through some of the stages which I have already conquered. So I can help somebody like that. So there is always a way that you can share your knowledge and help others. So I think you have to stop thinking that you're not good enough, or that you have to learn everything, you have to know everything before you showcase yourself. Whatever little you know, it might help someone, and putting yourself out there is always good, like no matter what, because it's always nice to show your whole journey, especially for me when I share all my paintings on social media, because mine is a visual thing where people have to see my paintings to know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And for that, even when my paintings were really bad, where I thought it was really bad, people appreciate it. And then you actually think, okay, for somebody, even this is really hard to paint. And so when people go back and see my whole journey, it also makes them feel that, okay, even I can do this. It's not like everybody is an expert out there, and they have also faced all of that. So I think, it's a daily battle, but you have to fight it.
Thank you so much for sharing it, your experience, and I can totally understand that from many aspects, because when you come to a new country and you want to start something new and you're like, should I do it, should I not do it, what if this, what if that? So that's a very good question, whoever has asked it. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the beautiful answer. Do you have anything to add there, Vidya? You've had a similar situation, it's not that you were doing real estate for a very long time, if I'm not mistaken. So, making that switch, trying to put yourself in a new domain and trying to tell yourself, I can do this. How was that journey?
Yeah, so in my case, a lot of small steps helped me to achieve better. First, when I decided to get into this market, I did not just get in, full-fledged. So I started taking small steps. Like I started working with a lot of other real estate agents as a intern, it's not a paid internship, but then I volunteered for it. So I just wanted to go with them, understand how they do it, understand how the other culture works, because we work with pretty much all different cultures, all different backgrounds. We meet clients from all over the world. So we don't want to hurt anyone when it comes to their different aspects, including religion or any other things that I'm not aware of. So it is important to take small steps to get to know the business, the area, and the profession itself, to know better. So yeah, I think that helped me a lot. And also meeting like-minded people, like I said, once you start networking, once you make friendship with people who are like-minded, maybe you can freely ask questions which you're not aware of. And also always have when it comes to my sector, I always say, always it is better to have a godfather in the this thing, big industry. So it is always the name works here. It is always good to have someone who is in industry for longer time and who has access to pretty much everything, and to be with them, have a good relationship with them, and to get to know a lot of things from them. There's no shame in asking people if you don't know something. So this real estate industry was completely new to me. So yeah, I had like thousands of different questions. So I started, searching for one right person who can guide me, who is in this market for quite a long time. And I was lucky to find someone, and then who was in industry for like more than 40 years. So he helped me to learn. So I think taking small steps in the market help you understand the whole profession very well and to sustain in this.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your beautiful answer. Yeah, I'm not going to even summarize that because I think it's so well said. Do you have anything to add, Reema?
No. Sushma and Vidya has already discussed everything.
Yeah. So before we go to the declaring the winner section, I would first like to thank each of your panelists today for taking time, for being bold, first of all, being bold, carving your path, and then coming here and sharing your stories with us, and being so open in offering your advice, suggestions, and all of that. So thank you all so much. And thank you to our Wiki team. We put this in a jiffy together. We've been thinking about it for a long time, but then we just said, okay, we will do this. We've been thinking, like, again, just like the panelists said, we've been thinking, will people want to hear about freelancing, not want to hear? And I said, okay, let's just do it. I think there's enough people who might benefit from this. So we put it together. So thank you to all the Wiki members, Neda, Shweta, and we have Chaita. Chaita's not in the event today. She has another engagement. So she's not been able to be here today, but all the hard work that's gone into this. So thank you very much. And last but not the least, thank you to all the audience for being here and logging in. We are going to put this recording on YouTube. You can access it and you can share it with your network, people who come after you and have similar questions, because that's what we see in Luxembourg, that people have the same questions year after year after year. So please use this as a resource to help people in your network when they come in. So going to the last interesting piece, what I'm going to do is I have this list in the chat where people have just answered, the correct answer was 7, and there's a lot of people who have got that correct answer. I'm just going to roll it and point on one, and that's going to be the winner. So bear with me for a moment. I can't share the screen with you, but I'm going to do that here. Okay, it stopped at a person called Hima Bindu. Are you here, Hima Bindu?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So you're the winner.
You.
We will get in touch with you, get your address, and our sponsors today, they are called Salty Llama. They're a Luxembourg-based company. What they do is they do a wonderful washing product, which is eco-friendly and does not contain any water. They are soap strips for your washing machine, and they're very sustainable that way. So you will receive a pack from them one of these days. We'll keep you posted on email. So thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. We are on time, and I hope some of you might be catching the France-Morocco match after this. You have just in time to go grab your snacks to watch that match. So thanks again, everyone, and have a good evening.